Hello everyone, I'm Fozzie or Cam and I'm here as always with my co-host Will. How are we doing today, Will?
I'm doing great, Cam. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. We have a great episode planned for everyone today and yeah, just very excited to be here. So, first and foremost, we have just some more simple things to cover, some news you've probably already heard. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift are now engaged. How do we feel about this, Will?
Well, first of all, let me just say, can congratulations to them. I'm always happy for people who seem to be really meant for each other, who have something exciting like that happen. So, congratulations to them first and foremost. And then my second comment on this is hearing this news about the Taylor Swift Travis Kelce engagement just makes me think what in the near future could humanly stop the popularity that Taylor Swift has right now? Because she's going to be married to Travis Kelce and their wedding and all the, public events that they attend together are going to be like all over the news. And she's still relatively young and she'll have lots more albums to come out with and lots more tours to go on, and maybe some of her material will change as she grows older, but her fans could also kind of grow with her and mature with her the older she gets and the older that they get. So congratulations to Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Super happy for them. And then this has just got me thinking, I literally don't see anything humanly possible in the near future to stop Taylor Swift's spot as not only the biggest star in music, but arguably like the biggest star
In the
in
wo-
in the
Yeah,
world and like in all of pop culture and all of entertainment. I don't see anything stopping her popularity anytime soon.
I agree. And I hear what you're saying when you say you think her fans are going to go with her, but I think her fan base is still growing because you have little kids ages, I don't know, starting at like 5 years old, you're going to be Taylor Swift fan, right? As long as your parents are Taylor Swift fans, you're probably gonna be a Taylor Swift fan. And then like my grandmother is a Taylor Swift fan. So there's definitely a broad reach there. So if it keeps going like that, I mean Taylor Swift world domination. Wow. I mean, yeah, if she's just gonna keep expanding like that, it sounds like we'll have a real modern day Michael Jackson type of situation where just literally the biggest star of all time, you know? And I think that's what she's heading near. And I think it's only going to be boosted by the fact that I'm almost positive that she's going to be doing the Super Bowl halftime show this year.
Oh yeah, I've I've seen the headlines in the news about the Easter eggs that she dropped on her podcast appearance with Travis and
Yes.
Jason Kelsey about that.
So first and foremost, you have the fact that she's getting engaged to an NFL player, and she's been for some reason a big focus of the NFL for 2 years now, right?
Yep.
And that alone, I thought she would have done it sooner. I thought she would have done it the year she became the real pop culture NFL magnet that she is now. Um, but no, I think they were just building it up. And like you said, the Easter eggs, the fact that she's now getting engaged to an NFL player, I think all the evidence is there to suggest that Taylor Swift is going to be the halftime show performer. But I've also seen other rumors, like Jay-Z has been floating around. I've seen Harry Styles be floated around for years. Honestly, I would be completely fine with any of those three. I mean, Jay-Z's obviously cemented himself as one of the greatest rappers and businessmen of all time. He's a billionaire, you know, and he didn't come from billionaire wealth. So he's really self-made. So that's very impressive. And yeah, I think he would deserve a halftime show. Same goes with Harry and Taylor Swift. So Yeah. I'm very interested to see what happens in the Super Bowl. Um, but yeah, I guess we'll see what happens, you know. But moving on from that, and but not really moving on from that. In the same vein, you know, singing whatever. The Voice. Will, you're the resident Everything Podcast Voice fan. Um, so I'm being told by you that there are some major updates regarding The Voice. So what do we have?
Yeah, so The Voice has currently entered into this pattern. I don't know what the motivation behind it is, but they film two seasons at the exact same time. They film two seasons concurrently. There's always a Voice season in the fall that goes from September to December, and then there's always a Voice season in the spring, which goes from February to May. But season 28, which is going to be premiering next month, and then season 29, which is going to be premiering in February of next year, those two seasons are both being filmed at the same time. So there could be the blind auditions for season 28 taped one week, and then the blind auditions for season 29 taped the next week or a couple weeks after that. And that makes it where we as voice fans are able to get news about not just who the coaches are going to be for the fall, but also for the spring. So it gives you a chance to either be not excited for two voice seasons or super excited for two voice seasons if you really like the coaching lineup. And my excitement level for the fall season compared to the spring season could not be more opposite. I
Oh,
will
good.
start by saying
Oh,
this. I am thrilled that Snoop Dogg is coming back for the fall. That is fantastic. He's the best thing that's happened to the show since Blake Shelton left. There has been nobody else on The Voice who has ever been able to have the entire show revolve around them like Snoop Dogg did, making it where it felt like the Snoop Dogg show, much like it felt like the Blake Shelton show when Blake was on The Voice. So I'm thrilled that Snoop Dogg is back. But there was a thing where Snoop Dogg's return to The Voice got announced, and then a few weeks after that, they announced who the other three coaches were going to be for the fall. So when I heard Snoop Dogg's coming back, I'm like, oh, Snoop's back. Great. Like, what could possibly not get me excited for this fall season with Snoop Dogg being back? Until I saw the three coaches who would be on the show with him. Niall Horan, one of the most annoying coaches in the history of the show, who plays the bad guy role. And what made Blake Shelton so brilliant is he was able to play the role of the bad guy and yet still come across as endearing even while playing the bad guy. If you want to know what made Blake Shelton so brilliant on The Voice, his ability to play the bad guy and still be likable, unprecedented. I've never seen somebody play that role that well before. When Niall plays the bad guy, he's just annoying. He doesn't have the skill that Blake had. So if he's going to keep up with that this season, I will be very annoyed. Michael Bublé is the most cringeworthy coach I've ever seen in my entire history of watching the show, and he continues to bother me more by the day. Like every week, like I see some social media post he's put out of himself
yeah.
uh, behind the scenes at The Voice for this upcoming season, and it is always the most cringeworthy stuff ever. He put out a video just recently of himself backstage at The Voice dancing to some Justin Bieber song, and of course, it's like the most cringeworthy dance I've ever seen in my entire life. So I'm not saying Michael Bublé is a bad person, but he is so cringeworthy and he drives me insane. And he is currently taking his cringeworthiness to potentially even another level, which just makes me even more not excited about his return in the fall. And Reba McEntire, she just essentially sits there and does nothing. Like she has this statement, she tells artists, "Oh, I think you're as cute as a button, and I'd just be so excited to have you on my team." And she has like nothing else to say. She is the most boring, non-excitable, bringing nothing to the plate coach
Yeah.
I have seen in my entire history of watching the show. And The Voice put out a promo recently for season 28, she was barely featured in it. They gave Buble, Niall, and Snoop way more screen time than they gave her. And you want to know why they did that? Because she's got nothing interesting to say and would be horrible promotion for their upcoming season.
Oh
So
yeah.
other voice fans would probably disagree with me because this is Bublé's third season, this is Niall's third season, this is Reba's fourth season. So other fans must like those three coaches, but I do not. And if they plan on having those three coaches as a permanent part of their show going forward, I would be very, very unhappy about that. So aside from Snoop Dogg, I am not looking forward at all to this season in the fall. I will watch it because I could actually do kind of a thing in the fall where I could almost watch the show to enjoy how bad those three coaches are in some ways. Like maybe it could almost be a so bad that it's good thing in
Mm.
some ways, but I was like the Voices never put out a lineup that's threatened to break my trust in their ability to make smart decisions more than this lineup in the fall, which made the season 29 lineup for the spring pivotal for me. Because one of two things could happen. They could drop a lineup that I thought was great that completely reaffirmed my trust in the show, or they could drop another lineup like this fall lineup with one great coach and three other coaches who I can't stand. So when I saw that the coaches for the spring would be Adam Levine, John Legend, and Kelly Clarkson, I said, perfect. That is the perfect follow up to what I think could be a potentially all time low season for The Voice. Adam Levine just returned to the show after a 10-season absence. I think it was arguably his best season as a coach ever. He just seemed older, wiser, more mature, and just had wisdom and authenticity that I had never seen from him on the show before. And it's not that I didn't enjoy him on the show before, and I loved his rivalry with Blake, but I just saw I love when people have an improvement in their life and become older and wiser and more authentic. And that's what I saw from Adam on his last season on The Voice. Thrilled that he's back. John Legend, has been on the show forever. I never get tired of seeing him on it.
Yeah.
Thrilled that he's back. Kelly Clarkson hasn't been on the show for 5 seasons, which makes her return all the more exciting. So the fact that they are following up like my least favorite coach lineup I've ever seen with like one of the most epic lineups in years. I could not be more excited about that. And the thing that makes me so excited for season 29 is usually The Voice is going to have like one or two coaches who I'm not wild about. Like usually in a typical season, there might be a couple coaches who I'm really into, but then maybe like one or two coaches who I'm not as wild about. I can't pick one weak link with the coach lineup for season 29. Adam Levine, John Legend, and Kelly Clarkson are all great coaches. They're three of the greatest coaches in the history of the show. So I have like there's zero weak links at all. There is not one weak link in the coach lineup for season 29. Now they are shaking up the format for season 29 and calling it The Voice Battle of Champions because all three of those coaches have won the show. And
Hmm.
with this new format, the show's going to be shorter with less rounds. So I'm worried that that could make it where the artists on the show for season 29 don't have nearly as much time to introduce themselves and build a connection with the audience. So the shortness of the season has me concerned, but seeing those three coaches back, it's the first time that they're doing three coaches instead of four, which is interesting. But having those three coaches back, Adam Levine, Kelly Clarkson, and John Legend have not been on The Voice together since season 16. Season 16, it was the three of them and Blake Shelton. So it's been so long since all three of them have been on in the same season. And I'm so excited that they are coming back. I think this fall season is going to be rough aside from Snoop Dogg, but I will be there on day one for season 29 in the
Yeah.
spring. I think it's going to be the most epic coach lineup that The Voice has rolled out in quite some time.
That's good. That's good to hear, especially for a show that's been going on for so long.
Yeah.
And I feel like them changing it up like that is also a good thing for, like I said, I feel like the ratings might take a dip, especially after the Snoop Dogg season. So I feel like it's a good thing that the format's changing and the audience will get to see new things. So yeah, very interested in that. Thank you for bringing that insight. But speaking of The Voice, um, a former coach of The
Yep.
Voice, which always struck me as a little odd because he's not really a singer, but Chance the Rapper just released a new album the other day, and that's crazy because his last album, The Big Day, released in 2019, is probably considered one of the worst rap albums ever made. And all right, I listened to it, and let me get in it. I wasn't a Chance the Rapper fan when it came out. I've only, I mean, in the last what year, got into Chance the Rapper, and when I listened to The Big Day, I didn't hate it as much as everyone. It's yeah, he has better projects, but that was his first official studio album. He was mostly a mixtape artist before that, and there's not a crazy. There's not a specific line where you draw the line between the difference between a mixtape and an album. Generally, an album's gonna have more of one focus, one narrative, or a mixtape is just gonna be like a playlist of different songs with not one overarching meaning or story. Um, so everyone was highly anticipating this 2019 album from Chance, because it was a turn for him. It was a change in his career. He wasn't that type of artist, and he didn't exactly come through with it because, like I said, this album was hated by fans of his, by critics, and then Chance disappeared, not doing much besides the occasional Justin Bieber collaboration, or I mean, that's really it. He'd appear in an NBA game here and there, but that's really it. So, for the past year, about when I started becoming a fan of him, this album Starline keeps getting bigger. The momentum keeps getting stronger, you know? And we hear more singles, more lyric trainings that he's doing. My favorite being Buried Alive, which I think is one of Chance's best songs ever. All leading up to his newest album, Starline, which had a lot of had its work cut out for it because, you know, it really just had to be better than The Big Day. And it was. I am happy to report that Chance the Rapper is back. Maybe not in his prime. He might have to do a little bit more to be considered back in his prime. But as long as he keeps a consistent release schedule, and maybe next year he releases another album or another mixtape, and just keeps going, doesn't take any long breaks like he did for between the big day and this, which I think was mainly just because of how much people hated the big day, and he wanted to make sure it was better, and it was. So I'm very happy for Chance the Rapper. He's really grabbed his reputation and taken it back. Although it's not doing great commercially or as great as I thought it would do, but the real Chance the Rapper fans and the real music fans know that Chance is back, and that's great because Chance is widely considered to be one of the most lovable figures in hip hop. He spreads positivity while talking about real struggles that he's been through, and that's always appreciated. And he really knocks it out of the park with this new album. He did what he had to do. So yeah, I'm very happy for Chance the Rapper because to be honest with you, I didn't think he had it in him, especially after the big day. But here we are. But on the topic of music again, an artist we all love here on the Everything Podcast, Bruce Springsteen. What is it, the 50th anniversary of Born to Run? Is that it?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So we've gotten a new, or not a new song, but an unreleased song that was meant to be on Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen, and it was released for the 50th anniversary of Born to Run. It's called Lonely Night in the Park. It's not great. I don't love it. I don't I mean, I listened to it twice, maybe I need to listen to it more. I don't think it's a great song. I think it was unreleased for a reason. I don't think it I think it didn't make the album for a reason. I think Bruce knew it probably wasn't his best work, and that's okay. I mean, not every work's gonna be your best work. Um, but that being said, yeah, it just wasn't like it didn't hit and for me, and I hope it does for other people because I always love when Bruce does good numbers online. But Will, what did you think of this new song?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was, a solid, fine song. It didn't knock my socks off. Like you, I can see why it was um an outtake instead of an official release. But, even if I think this is like, a solid Bruce song, but not his best song ever, so many thoughts came to mind for me when he put that song out. And the main one was, how many more things, like outtakes, could this guy possibly release? Let's just go down the list. He's come out with so much stuff, I'm probably going to forget certain things, but let's just go with the main ones. He had tracks, he had the essential bonus disc, he had the darkness on the edge of town outtakes, he had the river outtakes, he had 7 unreleased albums come out earlier this year for tracks too, and he still has more in the vault with this Lonely Night in the Park song. Like, why didn't he release Lonely Night in the Park on the original tracks? Maybe he was thinking of saving it for the 50th anniversary of Born to Run, but as
I think
someone,
I think
yeah.
now that Bruce has sold he sold his catalog, I believe. So I think now, I mean, I'm sure Bruce retains quite a bit of control, but I think part of that could honestly be, I think it was Sony who it was sold to. It could be Sony kind of planning how they're going to release this. I know with artists like, I mean, granted, this mostly happens with artists who aren't around anymore, but I mean, it also happens to artists who are around, who don't own 100% of their catalog. Like Billy Joel will have compilations released all the time, not as many demos as Bruce has, but it'll happen. David Bowie has a bunch of compilations, bonus albums, new albums that come out that weren't even like a thing, which I think is kind of mismanagement of the David Bowie legacy, but that's a whole other topic. But I feel like it's the same thing for Bruce. I feel like Sony's more meticulously planning out what they're going to do in collaboration, I feel like, of course, with Bruce, but I feel like they're heavily involved with, yes, we're going to release this for the 50th anniversary of Born to Run, this for Tracks, and I guess Tracks 3 is in the works, which I don't even, how do you even make that many songs? Bruce talks about writing, like, oh, it's so hard. Sometimes I won't ever get a song. But then you'll see him here with so many albums that are already released, and then so many albums, just as many albums, arguably, that are unreleased. I mean, what? How is and might add, even the unreleased ones are good. At worst, they're pretty good. You know? How is I don't even get how somewhere north of Nashville. Why didn't you put that out? Why didn't you put that out as maybe a companion project to Western Stars? But I'm all fine with it. I mean, the more Bruce, the better for me. Either way, I'm getting it. So, but still, yeah. I mean, I think definitely the label has more control over that. But yeah, I mean, it's always cool to get um more Bruce content, and we're always gonna talk about it here on the podcast just because we're such big fans. Um, Speaking of,
Yeah.
I don't know, can't really transition this topic, but record labels, producers, big companies, Paramount is now, or the Duffer Brothers are now signed to Paramount. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Will. This deal is for non-Stranger Things projects, right? Stranger
Yep.
Things will remain on Netflix, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
And I
I had to
did
make sure.
read, yeah, and I, yeah, so yes, like any future Stranger Things projects that they'll do will remain on Netflix. It looks like they also have another couple shows coming out which are also going to be on Netflix. So they're going to Paramount, but all future Stranger Things content as well as a couple other new shows that they're going to have will be on Netflix.
And you know what? I mean, when I originally heard about it, I thought they were taking everything. I thought Stranger Things was going to be on Paramount Plus, and I was originally disappointed in Netflix. But I mean, I'm glad it's staying on Netflix. I'm glad Stranger Things is Netflix, and I kind of see why they decided to 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 part ways with them in a way and only hold on to Stranger Things. Because take the Russo brothers for example. Um, you look at what they did with Captain America, Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Endgame, all these legendary movies. That's like the Duffer Brothers Stranger Things. But then you look at the Russos' other movies. You got Cherry. I mean, I don't even know if anyone watched Cherry. I think it came out during COVID. You got The Gray Man, which we watched together, as a matter of fact, and it was fun. It was solid. It was a blockbuster, a Netflix blockbuster. And then they had The Electric State, which got hated on relentlessly by critics, despite it starring Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown, which actually kind of ties into Stranger Things very nicely. Um, So that fear would kind of hold true for me with the Duffer Brothers because I feel like they're similar sort of things. Not only are they brothers, but they're also doing the same sort of mainstream project, and then a little turn. So I think Netflix is smarter by holding on to just Stranger Things as a way of upholding their reputation. Um, but yeah, either way, I'm just really interested to see what the Duffers do. I mean, do we know what any of these other Stranger Things projects will be, Will?
Well, apparently they're going to have the animated series Stranger Things. I think it's Tales of 85, which I read is actually going to feature like the regular characters from the Stranger Things series. It just sounds like they'll it'll be an animated form and they'll be voiced by different people and not the main actors from the show. I would assume, and then it looks like they're expected to announce a live action Stranger Things spinoff at some point. And it sounds like I believe I read that the apparently the person who greenlit Stranger Things is over at Paramount, and that allows the Duffer Brothers to reunite with that person. But yeah, like you, I'm happy that the Stranger Things stuff is staying on Netflix. It's cool that they're going to have another couple shows coming out, which are going to be on Netflix too. But what you were saying about the Russo brothers not having much success outside of Marvel is exactly what my concern is with the Duffer brothers. The Duffer brothers will always have Stranger Things. Stranger Things is a masterpiece. Every single season is an epic, mind-blowing masterpiece, in my opinion. It's one of the greatest shows of all time. I think an argument could be made that it is the greatest show of all time. I think you could easily make that argument. But we've seen with people like the Russo brothers, they've had brilliance in one area, but struggle to recapture the brilliance in other areas. And that's what the Duffer brothers are going to have to prove for me. What they have done with Stranger Things is brilliant, and they will always have that. People will always respect them for that. But will they be able to have success outside of Stranger Things? I gotta be honest, I don't know, and I'm gonna need to see it. So I will always bow down to them for the Stranger Things stuff that they've done, but they've got to prove it to me for if they can create successful projects outside of the Stranger Things world.
Totally. And if they're all as good as Stranger Things is, I am all in on the Duffer Bros. But it remains to be seen. And speaking of Stranger Things media, there's a video game coming out, Stranger Things Catalyst. I had looked this up just because I saw Matthew Modine had posted about it, and originally I've had it in the back of my mind. Oh, is that a spin-off show that he's subtly announcing? But no, looking at it now, it was the video game, which is also interesting, and I'm glad they're branching out. I mean, they did that play thing, which was super cool. Now they're doing a video game, but yeah, Stranger Things is a crazy big brand, so I guess that totally makes sense. Speaking of crazy big brands, the segues to different topics are doing really well today here on the Everything Podcast. I feel like we're doing really good on that. And typically, that's been an area where we've struggled on the podcast. I've noticed Usually I'm struggling to transition between topics. Usually I'll just it'll be really clunky. It'll be like and also whatever. And that's not what I want to do. So, you know what? This upcoming everything podcast year, as we've recently hit our what? I don't even know. What is it? 4 year anniversary?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, in June, I believe it was our four
June.
year
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, our 4 year anniversary of the Everything podcast. So for this upcoming year, I think segues into different topics are going to be my main focus. So yeah, speaking of big companies and such, Spider-Man, brand new day, features the Hulk and it features the Punisher. How are we feeling about that, Will?
Remains to be seen, for me. You know, with Spider-Man No Way Home, we saw a lot of characters, but we saw them be able to have success with having a lot of characters in the same movie. You know, there were certain villains like the Green Goblin that they put front and center, and other villains that they moved more to the background. So if they're able to do what Spider-Man No Way Home did and manage having all of these characters in the same movie well, then I think we could have success. But if they're not able to manage it well, then I think we could have a problem. And specifically when it pertains to the Punisher, I have such mixed feelings around him being in this movie. On one hand, I'm like, okay, if this is gonna be more of a gritty, dark, street level Spider-Man movie, then I could maybe see it working with the Punisher being in this film. But on another hand, I'm just like, but this is a PG-13 movie, and the Punisher is an R-rated character, so I'm just like, does it really make sense? Even if this Spider-Man movie is gonna have a different tone, will it really be as dark as these other R-rated projects that the Punisher has been in, like his own show and Daredevil and Daredevil Born Again? So I have such mixed feelings around the Punisher being in the movie. I could maybe see it working if this Spider-Man's going to have a different tone than the other ones. But on another hand, I'm like, does putting an R-rated character in a PG-13 project, like, is that really going to work? Like, I have my questions about that.
I totally agree, and I mean, look at I mean, we're gonna have Deadpool probably in a PG-13 Avengers movie. So I wonder how Marvel is gonna handle that, and I'm very interested to see how it is handled. Um, does the Punisher special that comes up before, right?
Yeah, that should be coming out. I don't know when next year, but it's scheduled to come out next year, and he could be appearing in Daredevil Born Again season 2 as well. So he might be appearing in three different Marvel projects next year, which is
Wow, yeah.
crazy.
And he has that film with Christopher Nolan coming out, or directed by Chris. Wow, busy year for John Bernthal.
Yep.
Anyway, I think it's possible that something could happen in his special that makes him reformed, maybe a kinder, more. I mean, this could be pushing it, but to make it make more sense that he's in a PG-13 environment, to make it work more for the people who pay attention to the continuity. But either way, I'm very interested to see what happens with this movie, and obviously, this and Secret Wars are probably going to be some of our most talked about movies. Not always because we think they're going to be amazing, but because there's just some of the craziest things happening right now in Hollywood. You don't see movies like this getting made for better or worse. Um, but yeah, so yeah, we'll be here covering all of that. But with that, thank you all for watching this episode of the Everything Podcast. Will, thank you for joining me as always, and we'll see you next time.